Hello DYBSC, welcome to the virtual classroom. Today we will start with a new chapter. Up to now, if you can remember, we have completed 4 chapters regarding this parasitology syllabus. In this we have already seen what is parasitology, then we have seen what is parasites, what are these parasites, their definitions, their types. Then we have seen what are the host of the parasites, their definition, their types. Then we have seen what is the host and parasite relationship, and why parasites are so much specific about their host. So up to now we have seen all these uh, different aspects of parasitology. These are the basics of parasitology. Now we know what are the parasites, what are the types of parasites. Now we know what are the hosts, what are the types of host. Now after this, and we also know why a specific parasite infect specific host. Now we will start with the detailed study of the parasites, whatever examples we have seen. So this chapter, this will be the largest chapter in your syllabus. It is a study of the parasite with reference to the habit and habitat, life cycle, mode of infection, pathogenicity and control measures. Okay, so these are all the, and examples are Plasmodium vivax, Entamoeba histolytica, Ascaris lumbricoides, Taenia solium. Now if you can see, we have already seen the different types of parasites, in that helminth type of parasites, then unicellular eukaryotic parasites also we have seen. So two examples that you see here, those are Plasmodium vivax and Entamoeba histolytica. They belongs to the first part, unicellular parasites, and these are endoparasites. Again, Ascaris lumbricoides and Taenia solium, these are also endoparasites, but these are multicellular parasites. Now after finishing this, then we will have other chapters where we will see the ectoparasites, again with reference to their habitat, life cycle, mode of infection. So already in previous chapters we have seen examples of all these pathogens. So today we will start with the first one, that is the Plasmodium vivax. Okay, now I think Plasmodium based diseases that we already have seen. Okay, so it is believed that the Plasmodium have been evolved hundreds of millions of years ago and long before the arrival of vertebrates. Because these are the unicellular organism in evolution, life has converted from the unicellular to multicellular organism. So everything has started from a single cell. So yes, definitely the Plasmodium has evolved thousands of years, millions of years ago, okay, before the arrival of vertebrates. Because okay, then there are generally there were 200 species of this Plasmodium. Okay, so it has been described, 200 species have been described, most of which are parasites of birds, although there are some also many other that infect reptiles, rodents and primates, and they are transmitted by blood feeding invertebrates, especially the mosquitoes. So mosquito bites not just humans but other animals also. So in most vertebrates, host Plasmodium parasites are not particularly pathogenic, remember, okay, but in humans they cause disease, often referred to as the ague. In many countries it has the malarial disease has been said to be the ague or the marsh fever. Okay, in historical literature this has been explained. So here the causes of this disease, malaria. Now even though the Plasmodium infects or present in many animals, still what they do in humans, that much damage doesn't occur in other animal, very rarely, some of the animals. Okay, so Human malaria is one of the most important diseases in the worldwide, with over 500 million people at risk in tropical and subtropical parts of world, especially in Africa. Okay. Now, other than these 200 species of genus Plasmodium, there are at least 50 species of there are also 50 species which are parasitic, okay, which lives in various vertebrates also. Now, this is about the Plasmodium vivax. Now, if we start with the name, what it is causing, malaria. Okay, the name malaria. This is a this you should remember the name. Mal means bad, and area means air, bad air. Was given in the 18th century. This name was given in the 18th century in Italy. It was believed to be found by foul emanation from the marshy soil. Now we already know marshy soil means wherever you have stagnant water, okay, there you will have the mosquitoes. So in many areas where marshy soils are there, people used to go there for some work, and they will have this disease. So they will say that because of the bad air in the marshy area, or the area where you have a stagnant water, there will be smell in that area. From there you get this disease, marshy air. Initially they were not knowing what is the exact reason for malaria. Now the specific agent for malaria was discovered in RBC, okay, of a patient in 1880 by Alphonse Laveran, a French army surgeon in Algeria. Okay. Then in 1886, Golgi. Now we know about Golgi complex. Okay, the person who has found the Golgi complex in the cell. Now Golgi in Italy described asexual reproduction of the parasite in RBCs. Okay, which is the that stage is called as the erythrocytic schizogony. That is called as erythrocytic schizogony, which therefore come to be called as a Golgi cycle. Okay. Then in Romanovsky in Russia, 1891 developed a method of staining malarial parasite in the blood films. So how to find them, whether it is present in blood or not. So for that purpose, Romanovsky, okay, in Russia in 1891 developed a method of staining. Now this was many people actually were getting infected, especially in the tropical region and in many areas. Because of that, people have worked on it, and as the major breakthroughs which happened in the malarial disease, that was carried out by, as just now we have seen, Alfonso Laveran. Okay, he discovered the malaria. And second one is the Ronald Ross. Now for what Ronald Ross and these two have done, for that you should know what are the different species of malarial parasite infecting the man. So we are studying the Plasmodium vivax. There are basically 4 types. There are many, but those which are infecting the man, those are basically of 4 types. So Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium falciparum. Okay, now this was described in Italy between 1886 to 1890. So in 1886 to 1890, these 3 have been found out. The 4th species, Plasmodium ovale, was identified in 1922. Okay, in 1897, in 1922. Okay, now what happened during the Plasmodium vivax, when they found out, the mode of transmission of disease was established in 1897. So mode of transmission was not known at that time. So mode of transmission was established or found out in 1897 by Ronald Ross in Sikandarabad, India. Now we already know in India we have this malarial disease. Okay, so identified the developing stages. How we have done it? He identified the developing stages of malarial parasites in mosquitoes, and this led to the various measures for the control and possible eradication of malaria by mosquito control. Okay, so why Ronald Ross and Alphonse has been given the Nobel Prize for their discovery in malaria? The reason is Alphonse found out what are the causative agent, and Ronald Ross he found out the developing stages of malarial parasite, and which become helpful, that which part is more dangerous, which type of mosquito is dangerous. Okay, so because of that, both has been given Nobel Prize in 1902 and 1907. So this was about the finding out the different stages. Now whether they are present in one country or they are present in many countries, that you should know. The relative prevalence of the four species of malaria in different geographical region. Okay, so malarial parasite have a worldwide distribution. If in geographical term we should say that it was between the latitude 60 degree to north to 30 degree south. Okay, now basically you should see what I am telling you, that in the extreme cold condition these are not present. So if you go to the Canada, if you go to the Siberia side of Russia, then in that area you may not see or you may not find out the mosquitoes, and if mosquitoes are not there, then this particular organism or Plasmodium is also not there. So basically in the area where you have high temperature, okay, tropical regions, there you will see this. If you look at it, Africa region, then you have India, Malaysia region. These are the area where you have a straight sunlight. There are a lot of rainwater and marshy areas. A lot of forests are also there. You look at the Brazil area. So in all those area you will see these Plasmodium species. So Plasmodium vivax and falciparum are most common human infecting species. Okay, the former or the Plasmodium vivax is prevalent in all temperate and subtropical zones, while the Plasmodium falciparum occurs in the Indian subcontinent, entire South Asia, tropic and subtropic region. Even in our area also Plasmodium vivax is also present. So basically Plasmodium vivax and falciparum, these are majorly present in all over the world, in subtropical Africa and South America also. So Plasmodium malariae is found in the tropical and subtropical regions, especially in Africa, but the ovale is relatively rare form and eradicated or restricted to the East and West Africa islands. So basically ovale is not present everywhere. Falciparum and vivax are most common. So vivax is most widely distributed, predominant falciparum is there. Okay, but malariae present in but rare in Africa especially, and ovale is virtually confined to West Africa, where it ranks second after falciparum. So there is a great deal of overlap in the distribution of these three species. The tropical region is considered to be the endemic home. Okay, what is this endemic? That is the endemos. It's a Greek word, endemos, that is the dwelling in a place of all malarial parasites. Okay, so a few more things about this, that this particular disease characterized by periodic fever, okay, coinciding with the liberation of merozoites. We will see the steps that happens in the malaria. So infection is there, then fever occurs 72 hours in the case of Plasmodium malariae, and then every 48 hours in other species. Okay, so in all species there is a single phase of exoerythrocytic schizogony. Okay, falciparum and in malaria also, and this phase lasts for 5 to 15 days, and after this the only parasite in the body are those in the blood, and subsequent bouts of fever are caused by many things or different forms also. So in Plasmodium vivax and ovale, some of the parasite in the liver lie dormant for several years. Now it has been said that if you get once the malaria, then definitely it will occur every year, but this is not in case of Plasmodium falciparum and malaria. This is the case for only Plasmodium vivax and P. ovale, because they remain in the liver in dormant stage for several years, and subsequent infections due to maturation of these forms are called as relapses. So, in many cases, every year the person will get the malarial symptoms. Very rarely the person will die, but yes, he will get that fever. So, why it is so? He haven't come in contact with any of the mosquitoes, still he will get that, because the some of these two species may remain dormant within the liver, and they they mature, and again every year some specific time duration they will have the occurrence. So, that is called as a relapses. This is one of the possibility in case of Plasmodium vivax. Okay. So, if you look at the in short, whatever I have told you, that can be observed in this table. So, disease periodicity or hours. So, malaria takes more time as compared to Falciparum ovale and vivax. And what are the distribution that you can see? So, Plasmodium falciparum, vivax, Plasmodium ovale and malaria exhibit marked differences in their biology, and molecular evidence suggests that they evolved from the separate lineages. That is, they are most closely related to Plasmodium species. So, this is all the Plasmodium species that parasites other animals, then they are with one another. Okay, so the parasites of human, with exceptions of malaria, are not naturally transmissible to other animals. Now, this is very important, that the parasites of humans, with the exception of malaria, are not naturally transmissible to the other animals. So, whatever we see here, all are not transmissible to other animals or the primates or rodents. Okay, so there are some of them where this is transferred, not in all. So, there is a considerable attention both in their own rights, and modes of human infection can be studied. So, there are about 20 species of Plasmodium in non-human primates, of which there is one Cynomolgi, which resembles Plasmodium vivax, has been the most studied one. Okay, so yes, whether whether the Plasmodium vivax or malaria occurs to other animals, no, it does not occur to other animal. But whether the Plasmodium infects the other animal, yes, they infect the other animal. But whether the Plasmodium vivax which infects the human, whether it infects the other animal, no. There are very few species of primates are there and rodents which get infection, but the kind of infection humans get, that doesn't, no other animals get it. Okay, so these are some of the differences. Now, one important fact that I want to tell you, that even all humans also doesn't get the malaria. Some of the humans are protected by this malaria. The reason that I will tell you here, there is one defi antigen chemokine receptor, that is called as DARC, also known as FY glycoprotein, okay, which is present on the erythrocytes. Now, this is a protein that humans is encoded by ACKR1 gene. Now, this is called as a defi antigen, okay, located on the surface of red blood cells named after the patient whom it was discovered. The protein encoded by this gene is glycosylated membrane protein and non-specific receptor for several chemokines. What does it do? The protein is a receptor for human malarial parasite. If this protein is not present in human, the parasite cannot infect you. So, Plasmodium vivax and other malarial parasites, okay, they require this receptor. So, defi antigen gene was the fourth gene associated with the resistance. So, those people which doesn't have this gene, or there is a mutation of this gene, they don't get infection by the malaria. Other than this, even sickle cell anemia, the people who are having sickle cell anemia, they also don't get malaria. The reason is the RBC itself cannot be infected by these particular parasites. Then those are having thalassemia, they are also not get infected by malaria. And glucose 6 phosphatase dehydrogenase, if there is a problem in this, they also don't get it. So what happened here? On erythrocytes, the Duffy antigen acts as a receptor for invasion by human malarial parasite. Okay, and this was first shown in 1980. Okay, so that person Duffy, so the Duffy negative individuals whose erythrocytes do not express the receptors are believed to be resistant to the merozoite invasion. Okay, but the racial variation in the distribution of Duffy antigen is a result of a positive selection pressure. The absence of Duffy antigen on RBC makes the RBC more resistant to invasion by malarial parasites. So worldwide, the 4 Plasmodium species that are routinely cause malaria in humans, if they require this, and if they don't have it, then they will not be able to infect. So this is a kind of, still we don't have a vaccine against the malaria, still we are finding the medicines against the malaria, but nature itself has given some kind of protection to those people who are already suffering from some other problems, but malaria will not happen to them. So those persons which are deficient of this particular antigen in their RBC, because of some reason they will not get malaria. Sickle cell anemia, thalassemia. Okay, sickle cell anemia is also a kind of mutation in which the RBC structure, which is disc shaped structure, will not remain as it is. Even those people who live in high altitude at the low oxygen, okay, they also don't get the malaria. There is some reason for that. So there are many people within the nature, we have such kind of adaptation where nature itself protect that particular person against some of the diseases, and this is very important. So this was about it. From next lecture we will start with the habit and habitat of Plasmodium vivax, and then continue with other parts of it. Thank you.